Deirdre and Enda.
Okay. That's the PDF. Yeah.
Oh, it's gone. It was on the desktop.
It was on the desktop.
Oh, was it?
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a recycle bin there?
I won't start the clock.
No,
Thanks, Barry.
they took the PowerPoint off
Yeah,
the...
right there.
I didn't.
You got your-
Oh, there it is, there it is, there it is.
It's okay. It's fine. Excellent. We have a PDF up. Okay.
PowerPoint view. Yes, welcome.
That's right, yeah.
You ready?
Yeah,
Off
fine.
you go.
Okay, what we were trying to actually look at is the problem, the context is that the demand for skills out there is changing in the world. Everybody knows this. And you see that the drop in routine cognitive, non-routine manual, and routine manual, this is what's happening. And the demand for skills out there is actually critical thinking and complex communication. This is the world we're facing. We have the question now, are we preparing our students to actually enter that world? Further study was done, and actually the gap is widening, and you'd see working with new information and solving unstructured problems. Again, that's the question we have to ask ourselves. Are we in the first and second level and third level preparing our students to enter this world? We felt our teacher educators maybe needed some sort of response to this, and how could we actually prepare them? Lots of questions out there, everybody's recognising it, that these are the type of skills that our graduates and school leavers are looking to develop if they're to live and work successfully in a globally connected world. Other people have framed them as this, the P21, and we're all grappling to try and understand what is it that actually they are demanding. In DCU we call them Gen 21. Different people are calling them different things. This is a nice way of putting them. ACT 21S calls them ways of thinking, ways of working, tools for working and living in the world. So you can see internationally we're all grappling with this. Our problem is, do our educators have the language to actually describe them? And is there research out there that demonstrates if we develop learning scenarios, will students develop these 21st century skills? This is the ITL research, which is the Innovative Teaching and Learning research, which shows very clearly that when learning activities that demand the use of these skills are developed, students do actually develop these skills. They don't develop by osmosis. We have to actually design and plan for their development, and it's up to us as designers. I'll hand over to Enda, who will actually talk about the context we're entering now as well.
Thanks, Deirdre. Hello, everybody. So Deirdre's given us the big picture in terms of the need for these 21st century skills on an international level. We're going to try and close it in a little bit for a minute and talk about the kind of the national context for that. Now, most of us in this room are probably quite familiar with the digital roadmap for higher education as a policy for the use of digital technology and development of those skills in higher education. But there is also a policy at primary and post-primary level, which is the Digital Strategies for Schools 2015 to 2020, which was launched quite recently, as you can see. Now, very much part of this document is the development of those skills that Deirdre has outlined to us already. But I've chosen a different part to talk about, which is that one of the strong themes going through it is the need for teacher professional learning. And there's a phrase there from it, for instance, there's a need to ensure that all teachers are equipped with the knowledge, skills and confidence to integrate ICT into their practice. And it talks about this being needed at all levels in terms of the pre-induction stage, the ITE stage and CPD as well. So we have a kind of a policy aspect to this as well. There's other things I could talk about as well this morning, but that's the main one for now. At a more curriculum level, there's also things happening as well which are worth mentioning. This is probably the most tangible example for this morning, which is the junior cycle reform, which most people are probably aware of, at least on a surface level, and we know a lot about it from the media as well. An interesting point about that, the junior cycle framework, is that it's underpinned by 8 key skills. These are kind of the underpinning framework of it all. And you can see them there in the nice diagram going around. But very notably, when this curriculum was being designed and put together, each one of those key skills was given a number of different indicators. And very specifically, each one was given a digital element. Now, that's quite significant, I think. So, for instance, managing myself, one of the indicators out of that is using digital technology to manage myself and my learning. Being creative, stimulating creativity using digital technology, and so on. So we also have some curriculum aspects as well. Now, these are early days for all of this, I appreciate that. But on top of that, we'll shift gear a little bit and talk about a delivery mechanism now. And luckily, through the wonders of excellent coordination, Eamon has managed to give you some of the background already to the MOOC debate this morning. So I'm going to just maybe skip on from this and refer back to it in a minute. But what we do know about MOOCs, and this is building on what Eamon has said, is that they are increasingly on the uptake. This is figures from 2016, and we know that more people have taken MOOCs, have signed up for MOOCs, is probably more accurate, in the year 2015 than in the 3 years before that combined. We know that there's now more than 35 million in terms of the enrolment for MOOCs. And we now know as well that increasingly MOOCs are targeting the K-12 sector internationally, primary and post-primary, what we call more here locally. And it's interesting because there's a lot of debate about who's taking MOOCs and who's not taking MOOCs, more to the point, because they were designed to be, there was initially a lot of hype around how they were going to open up education in lots of different ways. And Diana Laurillard comes at this from a slightly different angle and says, well, okay, the problem that MOOCs might actually be trying to solve might not be about making education available to the masses, but maybe one different angle on this is that we could use MOOCs to make education available to actually qualified people. And she makes the point that, particularly with regard to CPD, the comment on the right over there, in CPD we typically provide some form of updating on issues, we invite participation, we have discussion. And she argues that it's a perfect fit with the capability and the demographic of the current MOOC. So it's an interesting point. It's an interesting perspective of the MOOC debate. So we now have the big picture. We have the local context. We have the delivery mechanism in theory. And Deirdre is going to tell us about the actual implementation now.
Which is where we get the triarchic approach. Okay. So what we were trying to do is we knew that teachers needed to develop this meta-language and understanding around 21st century skills and what does it look like. We had been involved in the innovative teaching and learning research, and we had designed a program for face-to-face professional development, which was working really well. However, we couldn't be in never mind by location, try location, all over the place. We said, how can we actually put this content we had online and begin to develop it? So I work in St. Pat's, which is part of DCU. We needed funding. In the education market, what was very difficult to come by. We did actually get support from Microsoft, who funded us to actually develop it, and we worked closely with Michael Hallissy and his business partner H2. So we had the university, industry and small SME coming together to actually develop this 21st century learning design. This is what it looks like. These are the courses we have developed. We're very aware that content on its own doesn't do things. However, what we did try to do is we actually reached out and engaged with 12 what they call innovative educators that have been identified through the Microsoft program, and that I've worked with in the various guises before, because teachers and educators like to have real things in practice and what's happening on the ground. These educators we've worked with Australia, Finland, Vietnam, Ireland, right across the globe to get innovative practice from their classrooms. What does it look like in practice? And we actually developed video footage from there, which is part of it. So when we put it together, we have a lot of content. There's sort of classroom and action videos, analysis videos. We have a 21 CLD, one note course notebook to go with it. We have all the content. So there's a lot of stuff there. We're already using it at postgraduate level for our PMEs and our postgrads. And there are teachers beginning to engage in it. So we're trying to say, okay, where do we go from here? What are our next steps? We're very aware that we have the content. Now what we have to do is actually develop the social structures around it. We have it in an accredited form in DCU. We can actually take it. We're trying to do it that way as well, so people can take it for accreditation. We're in discussions with some of the education centres. We were down last week in Tralee, trying to actually say, well, can we actually provide and support there in a network for teachers as well. We're in discussions in Amsterdam and other places as well. So in other words, we're trying to say what's the best way to try to actually use this in a more participatory way rather than just have content online for people to be engaging just on their own. So we're trying to build and wrap different social structures around it. It's a need out there that's not only here in Ireland, but it's actually internationally. How do we actually prepare our young people to live and work successfully in a globally connected world? But we have to prepare our educators to understand what those 21st century, as they call them, competencies are. If they don't have experience of it, they can't design activities to develop these competencies in their students. So we'll take questions afterwards. Thank you.